International Holocaust Remembrance Day. This is the UN's response to the world who may forget. And of course on Friday last week we had the day. Most of us would have only known about the day because it was, well, all over social media, I suppose. It wasn't a huge amount of coverage in the general media. Nevertheless, at the UN, Danny Danon, the ambassador to the UN for Israel, gave the most defining speech of the moment, in which he actually put into words what so many of us have been thinking for so long. I'd like to play that for you. I apologize for its length, but even if you're not Jewish, I implore you, please watch and please listen, because this man is speaking the truth.
We come together today to remember the most devastating tragedy in history, the Holocaust, the Shoah. We remember the victims of the Nazi regime, the loved ones lost, and the shameful treatment of human life and human dignity. We remember our history, as painful as it may be, so that we learn from it and never let it repeat itself. And we remember the bravery of the survivors. Those brave souls were slipping away from us as they implore the next generation to heed the lessons of the darkest of periods with two simple words: never again. I commend the member states for coming together 12 years ago and passing the resolution establishing International Holocaust Remembrance Day. This important day serves as a reminder of the United Nations at its best, as it was meant to be. It serves as a beacon to our collective conscience, reminding us all of the importance of preventing tragedies like this one, and the grave consequences of failing to recognize the warning signs of hatred and bigotry. It is our duty as UN member states, as world leaders, as human beings, to work together to prevent extremism and violence by promoting tolerance, understanding, and compassion. But simply remembering the Holocaust is not enough. If we fail to learn the correct lessons, then we lose sight of the magnitude and significance of the worst crime ever committed against humanity. If we are not careful, then we run the risk of allowing the Holocaust to be misappropriated or even cheapened. Recently, we have seen this happen all too often, including by member states of the United Nations. The same memories and the values of tolerance and acceptance that we teach our children are now being misused. Under the guise of human rights and tolerance, we are witnessing a growing phenomenon where Israel is subject time and again to false analogies that can be only blamed on hatred and intolerance. 2 months ago, the permanent representative of Ecuador stood here at this very podium and unabashedly compared Zionism with Nazism. He compared the national movement of the Jewish people, the realization of thousands of years of yearning for our homeland, to the most vile and hate-filled movement the world has ever seen. The worst part of that episode was the silence during his hateful statement. The representatives of the world who were gathered in this hall sat and said nothing. The nations of the world sat silently and did not protest as the state of the Jewish people was singled out and libeled. When member states do not even react, while ambassadors are allowed to poison the UN, something within the institution itself has gone wrong.
And with his unique perspective on Holocaust remembrance, here's Jonathan Sachs.
Nobody can claim that the Holocaust is just past history. In a world awash with hatred, a world in which anti-Semitism has returned even to Europe, these things remain as vital today as they ever were, and the fight against them has to be renewed and redoubled in strength. The best way of doing so is to build bridges of friendship across faiths and ethnicities, because friendship creates hope. Hope is the antidote to fear, and that is the way we defeat the forces of evil in our world. So let us continue to remember for the sake of the future. Let us continue to remember the great religious imperative in the Bible, in the Torah's very first chapter, where it says God created the human person in his image after his likeness, which means that there is a trace of God even in the face of a stranger, one whose color, culture, creed, or class is different from ours. We remember so that we do not repeat. And that is why Holocaust Memorial Day continues to challenge us to share our humanity and to see the trace of God in the face of a stranger.
And they pointed their machine guns at us, and we thought they were going to kill us, and people were screaming and crying and fainting and praying.
And they shot them right in front of my stepfather, right in front of his eyes.
Unfortunately, I lost everything, but I want to save myself.
To be subjected to such abuse in front of your father, your brother, your son, what you're doing here is not just raping the women, you're also raping the whole community.
I had a spade buried in his brain and his side. His wife and children were all ripped up.
I thought I wasn't gonna have my dad.
Can I live without my family? Or my family can live without me?
She buried me and herself under the dead bodies. I owe my life to my mother. She was a real mother.